We're going to take several notes in our math notebook today. So if you will, turn to the table of contents. And you're going to write measurement, reference sheet, page 34. You're going to write common measurements, page 35. The big G, page 36. And converting customary units, page 37. So now you're going to turn to page 34. And you are going to glue down this sheet right here. You most likely are going to have to turn your notebook to get it to fit on the page, but you do need to glue it down on page 34 and make sure that you write page 34 wherever you're keeping up with your page numbers. Now, this reference sheet is something that you get to use on your test. You get to use it on your state test. You get to use it on any test in the classroom. Well, I haven't given it to you yet because you haven't had any measurements on there, but you will have it on your measurement test because you're allowed to use it. Now, there are measurements that you will need to know that are not on this reference sheet, and that's what's going to be glued onto page 35. So, if you'll look at page 35, and again, you'll have to turn your notebook sideways, and you will have to glue down this one that says Binder Notes Measurement, and you're going to write page 35 wherever you are keeping up with your page numbers. Now, there are some things that we have to do on this page. First, I'm going to actually show you these side by side. So you can see it tells us 1 mile is 5,280 feet. That's the same thing as this right here. 1 mile is 5,280 feet. It also tells us 1 mile is 1,760 yards. 1,760 yards. So I don't have to memorize these two things because they are already on my reference sheet. However, these three things are not on my reference sheet. So I need to memorize these if I don't have them memorized already. So you should know there are 12 inches in a foot, 3 feet in a yard, and 36 inches in a yard. So I want you to either highlight or circle these three that you need to memorize. These two are still important and you will use them, but they are on your reference sheet, whereas the other ones are not on your reference sheet. All right, that's the customary units for length. So now if we look at the customary units for capacity, that's actually on this side, we'll look at it. So fluid ounces in a cup, it tells us there are 8 fluid ounces in 1 cup. Quarts in a gallon, it tells us there are 4 quarts in a gallon. Pints in a quart, it tells us there are 2 pints in a quart. And cups in a pint, it tells us there are 2 cups in 1 pint. So there is nothing that we have to memorize for capacity because it is all on our reference sheet. And then finally, we have weight. Weight is over here in the middle on our reference sheet. 16 ounces in 1 pound and 2,000 pounds in 1 ton. So there is nothing on the weight side that we have to memorize either because it will be on our reference sheet. We just need to memorize these 3 things. Make sure we know those 3 things because they are not on our reference sheet. Again, your reference sheet is to be glued on page 34, and this is to be glued onto page 35. There are 2 more notes that we have to put here. So when converting from a smaller unit to a larger unit, that's like going from inches into miles. Smaller is inches, larger is miles. When you're going from smaller to larger, you're going to divide. And when you're going from larger to smaller, you're going to multiply. Now, you can memorize this, but I'm actually going to teach you a way to set up your problem, and it'll actually tell you when to multiply and when to divide when we get to page 37. So you can either memorize small to large divide, large to small multiply, or you can use the trick that I'm going to show you. On the next page, we're going to draw a big G. The big G helps us remember this right here. Now you might be thinking to yourself, well, it's on my reference sheet, Ms. Bridges. Why do I have to memorize? Why do I have to know the big G? I'm going to show you why when we draw it on the next page. So if you'll turn to your next page, should be page 36. Write page 36 wherever you're keeping up with your page numbers. Write the big G at the top. And then you're going to draw the biggest G that you can from the top to the bottom of your paper. Very, very large G. Mine is so large, the whole thing cannot fit on this screen, but that's okay. Now, inside that very large big G, you're going to draw 4 large Q's. Y'all have probably done this in a previous grade level, and that's fine. So these Q's stand for quarts because there are 4 quarts in a gallon, and the G is the gallon. Inside each Q, you're going to draw 2 big P's because there are 2 pints in every quart. Inside each pint, you're going to draw 2 C's because there are 2 cups in each pint. And this is something you probably did not do previously if you've ever done the big G because it's new this year. You're going to put an 8 inside each C because there are 8 fluid ounces inside of a cup. So that's what the 8 stands for, is the fluid ounces. Now, yes, all of that information was on or is on your reference sheet, but here's why it's important to know the big G. You might have a problem that wants you to convert pints to gallons. On our reference sheet, it doesn't tell us how many pints are in a gallon, but on our big G, it does. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. There are 8 pints in a gallon, and I can just count them to figure that out. This is a mistake that lots and lots and lots of students make. If I ask you how many fluid ounces are in a gallon, well, most students would go, okay, fluid ounces. She told us the 8 was the fluid ounces, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. There's 16 fluid ounces in a gallon. No, there's not. There's 16 cups in a gallon, but there's these 8s. There are 16 8s. So to figure out fluid ounces in a gallon, you would have to do 16 times 8. Oops, y'all can't see that. Which is actually 128. So there are 128 fluid ounces in 1 gallon. You will see this question. And if you can draw the big G, and you can multiply 16 times 8, you will know there are 128 fluid ounces in a gallon. So make sure you have that drawn on your paper in your notebook. Make sure it's labeled the big G at top and 36 at the bottom. Now we are going to look at page 37. You're going to write page 37 wherever you're keeping up with your page numbers. And you are going to glue down this page that talks about converting customary units of measure. So this strategy, you just set it up like a fraction, and it tells you if you multiply or divide. These are called proportions, and you'll actually use proportions a lot in 6th grade. So you write your problem like a fraction, you write what you know, and you make sure that you line up the measurements. So if you put yards on top, yards has to go on top. If you put feet on top, feet on bottom, feet has to go on bottom. You can't cross them. They have to match, okay? So you write your problem as a fraction. You write what you know about feet and yards, about those measurements. And then if the numbers are diagonal from each other, you multiply because it looks like a multiplication sign. And if they're straight across from each other, then you divide because it looks like part of a division sign. So we're actually going to look at two problems. Somewhere on this paper, you need to work out these two problems. So our first problem is going to be 96 inches equals, blank, shouldn't have put that there, equals blank feet. So we're going to take this problem and we're going to write it as a fraction. 96 inches is going to go on top because it comes first. Blank feet is going to go on bottom because it comes second. I'm going to write another fraction, what I know about inches and feet. I have to make sure inches goes on the top and feet goes on the bottom because that's how it is in this fraction. Now, what do I know about inches and feet? That is one of the things that we are supposed to have memorized because it's highlighted in yellow. But I'm going to cheat for just a minute and look and say there are 12 inches in 1 foot. So it said 12 inches in 1 foot. You look for the two numbers that are not a 1. Not the 1. The two numbers are diagonal. The two numbers are straight across from each other. That looks like a division sign. So I'm going to divide 96 divided by 12. Now, you might not be able to do that in your head. So you're going to go to the side of your paper and divide 96 by 12. If you know your 12 times tables, you know 96 divided by 12 is 8. So there, 96 inches equals 8 feet. I knew I had to divide because my two were directly across from each other. All right, we're going to do another one. 7 cups equals blank ounces. I'm going to write my problem as a fraction. 7 cups is going to go on top because it comes first. Blank ounces is going to go on bottom because it comes second. I'm going to write what I know about cups and ounces, and I'm going to keep cups on the top and ounces on the bottom so that my fractions match. If I don't know anything about cups and ounces, I can look at my reference sheet or my big G. There are 8 ounces in a cup. So does the 8 go here or do the 8 go here? There are 8 ounces in 1 cup. 8 ounces, 8 goes next to the ounces in 1 cup. 1 goes next to the C. This time I look for my numbers, not the 1. 1 doesn't count. My numbers are diagonal from each other. That means I'm going to multiply because it looks like a multiplication sign. And 7 times 8 is 56. So 7 cups equals 56 ounces. Now, you are going to use these notes to do some work on a worksheet. You must show me your work. You don't have to set it up like a fraction if you don't want to, but you do have to show me if you're multiplying or dividing. I need to see a multiplication or division sign. Typically, the fraction way works the best because it tells you when to multiply and when to divide. As always, if y'all have questions, you can email me.